Good evening, everyone. How are we all today? So, I did manage to get a little bit of clearing done. Excuse me. Let me just get set here. How is everyone doing? Let's get onto work. Hi John, how are you? Hi George. Hi Kabijiro. This light, sorry about the noise of the light. Oh, that's better. Hello Lucy. George, your third Patreon print was sent out today, so hopefully you receive that safe and sound in the next few days. I think there's only 2 that go out this month. Then there's a load more that go at the start of next month. I can probably pull my mic across. Sorry if I was a bit quiet then. I don't know. It was first class, so maximum should be a week. Everything seems to be getting through okay now. I've had things come from both the US and Japan this week that took, I think maybe one took 2 days, one was 4. I've been tracing away on the final. So Caballero, so if you were to join today, you would receive the first print in the series, which is the single colour, the 2 cranes, and then how it works is, to receive a print, you have to hit $30 worth of patronage at the highest tier. So there's a $10 tier. So essentially, after 3 months of subscription, you will receive your first print, and then every 3 months after that, you will receive another print, leading up to the final one in the series, which I'm currently working on, and then that will then roll into the next series. So it's essentially a subscription model based on a 3-monthly sort of purchasing order, and that is to give me the time to do reprints and to actually make the first batches of the prints and stuff. If I had the prints ready to go in advance, then I would be able to do it monthly, but unfortunately I'm not able to complete those prints in a month, not with everything else I have going as well. It's all explained on the on my Patreon page as well. So if you are interested, then head over to Francis Hanger on Patreon. There is a link in the bio on my Instagram that will take you there, and it's all explained on the landing page. But if you subscribe, what I should note is, as we're leading up to the final one, if anyone were to subscribe after the completion of the final print, then you will not start the first Patreon series. You'll be subscribing to the second one. There will be some available after that, but they will be sold in book form. So they will come bound, traditional Japanese style, in a book, and instead of the $120 that it would cost for you to receive them through Patreon, they'll be slightly raised to $150 to account for the one, because it's not fair to the Patreons. I would offer it out in an easier format. The prints are quite reduced anyway, to act as a perk for the Patreons, and 2, you'd be purchasing the display book along with it. I'm not going to tell you that you should, because I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to sort of beg and ask for patrons and stuff, but I do feel like it's a good value for money, and it really is a great help to me personally, and it's also a way for me to be able to give back to you guys that tune into the streams. And if I can offer you some cool prints at a price which is pretty reasonable and probably a fair bit cheaper than what you would get otherwise, as well as supporting me, then it's a win-win for everyone. Am I out of focus here? Where's my knife blade? No. It looked like I was heading out of focus. That's very kind. I'll let George do all the marketing for me. George is very kind. And I must add also, being a Patreon, you will also receive a book to display your prints in at the end of the term, and that will come free of charge. It will not be included in any sort of price, and that theme will continue on throughout the course of the various Patreon series. The conclusion of the series, you will receive a handmade Japanese book that you can display said prints in. Which hopefully, fingers crossed, will be ready to go out with the final print. If not, then it will be very shortly afterwards. And I'm pretty certain that the next Patreon series is going to, as well as doing streams, there will be sort of extra, more produced video content that will go along with that. I can't promise that the videos will be of any sort of decent quality, but at least there will be some additional content for you guys. and that will be Patreon exclusive as well. Thank you very much, Kabijiro. That's very kind of you. Thank you. You really didn't have to do that. And I really hope I didn't apply any pressure to you to do that. But I am very, very thankful. What was I saying? Yes, video content. Hopefully. Hi Ben, how are you? I hope you're doing well. What was I saying? Yes, hopefully in a few weeks, in around. That's very kind, Kabijiro. Thank you. Really, thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. But yeah, in a few weeks, I'll be taking order of a ton of wood to produce blocks with, to actually make the blocks, and I am intending on filming the process as we go through, and that will be our first sort of more considered video. I think it'll probably be done. I'll just shoot all the footage and then do voiceovers and things. Oh wow, that could be really interesting. I feel like there's something that I need to. It's a skill that I really need to learn. It seems like it's something that's going to become more important over time. And I was terrified of streaming to start with, and I feel a lot more comfortable now. Much less anxious before a stream starts and stuff. Oh, it's my hair that's making. Sorry, let me push my back. My hair's getting in the way. Sorry, guys. I thought it was the camera going out of focus. Where are we? No. And another update. I spoke with Laura the other day. I think she's now at the point, or very close to the point, of carving her key block, her lino key block. So we should see the results of that good work soon, and that will sort of coincide with the making of the blocks and things as well. It will be sort of around, should be in and around the same time. Right, I've got this whole mess of legs to get done in here now. And some more. One of the Patreons, Eric, mentioned the other day that he would quite like to see a segment of the stream that was sort of dedicated to tricks and tips. And I agree, that would be a great part of the stream, and that is something I do try and include. But I feel like that is something that would work very well in a video series of sort of between 2 and 3 minute long videos that are each dedicated to a specific sort of tip or technique or trick or something like that. Just because sort of, if you want to go back and find something that we were talking about or anything like that, then you have to sort of scroll back through an hour of the stream to be able to find anything like that. So maybe some short videos, and instead of voiceover, just use captions on the screen, so that there's no sort of mistranslation of what I'm trying to say, and it can be more, maybe be a bit more clear, especially with things like sizing and ingredients and stuff like that, where you need to know the weights and ratios and things like that. I feel like that would be pretty cool to sort of start out with. Maybe just start with the classic sharpening video that everyone has, and then move into like pigment preparation and cooking size and mixing pigments. And even simple things like cutting paper, because there is techniques to cutting and damping the paper and stuff and maximising the space. And it would also be quite a good way to please the algorithm on YouTube and get a lot of videos out quite rapidly. Sort of all film them in bulk and then post them across a few days maybe. Is that something that you guys would be interested in seeing, or would you like me to keep that as part of the streams and not confuse everything too much? Yeah, I think that's a good point. We can things like that, troubleshooting and sort of handling mistakes or how to work around sort of when things don't go to plan. I think that would be great to have as part of the stream. And maybe hopefully, well, that I don't necessarily want to dedicate like part of the stream to that, because then if no one sort of comes forward with a problem or something, then it's that sort of, I want everyone to just realise that if they do feel like there is an issue they're having with their work, then we can all talk about it and we can help to discuss it. Because I'm learning just as well as you guys. I'm just a little bit further down the line, if that makes sense. So we can all sort of help each other out and work together on things like that. Whereas specific things like sizing recipes, producing your own pigment from scratch, sharpening different tools, stuff like that, are things that I feel would work well on a more sort of considered and produced format that's a bit less casual, if that makes sense. But please, if anyone is having any sort of troubles or would like to ask any questions, I'm always happy to answer any questions through Patreon or Instagram or email or anything like that. But one really key thing that I wanted to have as part of the stream was sort of a community where we can all sort of help each other out and find ways around each other's problems and things like that. So do please, if there is any issues that you are having, put it in the chat, and I will do my best, or someone else will help, because we have some really knowledgeable people in here. Yeah, so yeah, George, that's a good point. The things that I do slightly differently. Things like, so Dave, for example, I do everything pretty much the same way that you would see Dave doing it. But one very key aspect is Dave has a rather large workshop to do all of his bits in, to produce all of his work and to do all the necessary preparation. He has a large space for that. I have a single room, which vastly limits my space. So the ways that I can sort of present it in a different way is sort of similar to how you guys would be working. So I would assume the majority of you either have a single room studio, or some people might be working on their kitchen table or office desk next to their computer and things like that. So you have limited space. So I can most certainly help with ways around problems with space and things like that. I'm thinking specifically in terms of sizing and stuff like that, and I don't have the space and the capacity to be able to size full sheets of paper and hang them up like Dave does. So I've had to, as you guys will have seen from the previous sizing stream, I have to do it in a different manner. And that might be interesting to sort of present that to you guys and show you, wow, this is how I do it slightly differently. And please do, if there's anything that you see that I'm doing that you think is interesting to yourself, or it sort of reminds you of something that you were doing the other day and you were like, oh, I was struggling, and I was sort of working around a similar sort of set of shapes or anything like that, please do pop it in the chat. Don't ever feel like it would be a silly question or something that's, I don't know how to word it. Do you know what I mean? Because I can always try and help with that. It's tough for me to sort of just point out this is a pitfall or this is this is that, because I'm just working. But if there's something that sort of catches any of your eyes, then pop it up in chat, and I'll spend as much time as is needed trying to explain in any way I can and help you out. So the paper drying out. So Ben says, does your paper dry out during a print process, or is it damp from start to finish, not counting freezing? So first of all, for anyone that doesn't know, when I'm finished printing for the day, I will take the plastic bag, the plastic sheeting bag that I've been using to store the prints while I've been printing, and I will place that in a freezer overnight to trap all the moisture inside. As you're printing, invariably through the day, if for example say you're printing a whole background colour on here, you're going to be placing quite a large amount of moisture into the paper over the course of that day of printing. So you probably wouldn't do another impression that day. So you're putting a lot of moisture in the paper, and then it might take maybe half an hour, 45 minutes longer in the morning to sort of acclimatise and get back to a level of moisture that is acceptable to print on. Conversely, if say I was just printing the colour for this shell in one day, you wouldn't necessarily do that. You try and dot it around and space it out. But say I was printing just that single colour, that's the only part of the paper that's taking on any moisture. All of this is sat in a damp stack, but still it is losing a little bit of moisture throughout the day. And it will be slightly drier at the end of the day than it was at the start, which is obviously a slight issue, because if that happens quite a lot, then the registration will shrink and it can warp and stuff like that, and then it's a bit of a problem to get it back. So what you can do is keep a few extra sheets of newsprint nearby, and your bucket of water and your brush. And if you feel like sort of in the middle of the stack specifically that it's getting, that's a sort of a good point of gauging the moisture, because the top and the bottom there, that's why you have a printing order, because the top and the bottom are going to be very slightly drier than in the centre of a stack. So if you feel the sort of round about the centre of the stack of prints that is sort of drying out, you can damp up a couple of sheets of newsprint and insert them into the stack in and around the sheets of paper, the printing paper, and that will help to equalise the moisture. And conversely, if you're printing a very large colour, say it was this colour and there was maybe a little spot colour in the middle that you wanted to get done and you felt like the paper was getting too damp, you can place a couple of sheets of dry newsprint in and around the paper, and it will help to suck some of the moisture out of there. But a really key thing here, when we talk about dampness and water in the paper, you really don't want your paper to be, we always sort of say, oh, we need to wet my paper or damp the paper, etc. That's really sort of a common misconception, and a sort of a lack of proper use of the term. Because paper that's too damp, so to speak, will has too much moisture in, will not print smooth colour. It will become mottled, and everyone, doesn't matter who you are or what you do, has had that same problem. Too much moisture equals mottled colour, and you won't get a smooth impression on the paper. The way that Dave explained it to me was, you want the paper to feel soft. And he used the term almost like it had come out of a spin dryer, a tumble dryer. So you want the paper to, if the paper ever feels, when you take it out of the stack, if it feels cold to the touch, then it's too damp. So sort of that's a good barometer of it. Obviously, different conditions. If it's very cold in your room, then that is going to affect it. Conversely, if it's very humid and things like that. So it's more a question of just experience and testing that out. But those couple of little aspects of the sort of touch and feel of the paper feeling soft, and combine that with adding damp or dry sheets as you see fit, will help drastically. Ben follows up and says, I'm having a hell of a time getting a print flat. Dampen them and press them to dry 3 times. Is this a print? So are you working on the print and then it's going wavy overnight or during the printing process? Are you able to elaborate a little bit more? You dampen them and pressed to dry. And the edge is still wavy. Yeah, if you're able to elaborate just slightly, Ben, I can try and it might just be me just being tired and a little bit stupid and not understanding properly. That's most likely the issue. Oh, is that what you're asking about, drying prints once you've finished? Ink is dry, paper was dry. Okay, so right, okay, we'll change plans slightly. It's getting a bit boring for everyone watching me just carving a crab anyway. So let me shift the. I'll just hold it up to the screen. Let me make my webcam bigger. Oh, there we go. Look at my hair. I look great. So. Hold the mic up. So, Ben, what you need to get is some sheets of mount board. Just normal, like, cheap mount board. And let's say that this is your stack of prints that are ready. So stack them all on your mount board. Make sure that the edges are not touching. Okay, once you finish that, another sheet of mount board on top. Continue the process till you have finished, till you have no more prints left. Then get anything flat and heavy. I use wood blocks. I use blocks that I've carved or blocks that are yet to be carved, anything like that, and stack them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in stacks. Make sure they're right up against the edges and make sure there's enough weight to push the whole stack flat, like tight, if that makes sense. So it's all very well compressed. And then it's a case of just leaving that for a few days. It might take, depending on the weather and stuff, it might take a day, might take 2 days or whatever. But that's how I dry my prints. And even this horrendous old one that's been left battered and stuff in a drawer, it's not wavy and it's not crinkled in any way. What's very important though is to allow the mount board, it's thick and it will very slightly take on some of the moisture, but it won't necessarily become damp. It won't be noticeably damp. So what's very important is that you allow the mount board itself to, let me make this smaller. It's very important that you allow the mount board time to dry. So just leave it out in the open, let it dry, let it do what it's got to do, and you should be good to go. That's how I do it. I'm not sure if that's how Dave still does it, but that's how I've done it for the past 3 years or so, and it's worked well for me so far. See, this is another thing that's something that would be quite important to show in a small video. I'm not sure how that will combine with oil-based ink, if you're using oil-based ink in conjunction with woodblock printing. Yeah, so all that's happened there is you haven't left them for enough time to dry, and then they've got wavy as they've dried when you've took them out. So what's really important is to leave them for enough time. Depending on your weather, if it's, for example, if it's say in the summer here, and say we have 3 or 4 days of heavy rain and it's humid, it can take a weekend for my prints to dry enough that I can take them out and send them on to Jed. Whereas conversely, in the winter, if it's very dry and cold, it can take a day. It's just a case of keep checking them, check the middle ones, and you can always take them out and rotate them. So if the ones in the top feel like they're drying pretty well, then place them in at the bottom and sort of rotate the sets of prints upwards towards the top, because obviously that's where the least amount of pressure is, so that's where the quickest drying is going to be happening. So do that if it's yeah, exactly. Yeah, adding in newsprint and stuff and rotating the prints upwards towards the top will really help. You'd be surprised just how much of an effect the daily weather can have on the paper, and how much that changes what you're doing when you're working. Even if it's like a light drizzle out, it will have an effect on the paper. It will change how much moisture you add how much water you add to the block, how long it takes to dry out in the morning and stuff after you took it out the freezer, things like that. There's so many factors that can there wouldn't be any issue, Ben, with keeping the board clean. If you're using like oil-based pigments and stuff, then that would be advisable to keep the boards clean. The paper just sort of helps to absorb a little bit more moisture, because the mount board's hard and it's not as susceptible to sucking up moisture as a plain sheet of newsprint would be. But yeah, if you're using oil-based inks, then most definitely place a sheet. But it's very important. The sandwich of prints and boards will go board, prints, sheet of paper, board, prints, sheet of paper, all the way through. And then just anything heavy and flat, books, anything like that. A big cardboard box full of stuff, anything that's going to really just press them down flat, and make sure the whole surface of the boards is covered and pressed down, because if the edges are sort of open and stuff like that, the paper will want to sort of wave up to those corners. I hope that helps, Ben. If you need more help or anything, just DM me on Instagram or something, and we can set up to like FaceTime you or whatever, something like that. Exactly. Anything heavy that's going to really press that whole stack down. I use blocks because they're good, flat size, and I can stack a ton up. So Nigel, I use blank newsprint. I don't know what it's like where you are, but in the UK, newsprint, the black ink comes off on your fingers quite easily, and that would most definitely transfer onto the paper. In Japan, they're very fortunate in the fact that they don't have that problem. They don't have that issue, so they can just use newsprint as is. I buy big A1 blank sheets of newsprint from Amazon. They're really, really, really cheap. And I just cut it all up to the size and stuff that I need. But yeah, I'd say... Oh no, that's fine. I've been carving all day anyway, Ben. I only stopped for like an hour to eat and stuff. Excuse. Yeah, as John says, really important to distribute the weight evenly over the whole surface. But Nigel, yeah, if you can get blank sheets of newsprint, that's perfect, and get tons and tons and tons of it. Because you can only really use it once. It becomes really wavy and sort of doesn't have a lot of integrity after that, a lot of structural integrity. So what you do is, once you've finished with your stack of newsprint, you keep it all off to one side, and once you've washed your brushes and you've sort of got as much pigment out as you can, as much water out as you can, take your old sheet of newsprint and scrub the back of it with the brush. And scrub it, and that will help to take some of the moisture out of the hairs and stuff, and help. It will aid with the drying process. That's what I do with all my newsprint, and then just recycle it all after that. Shred it all up and put it on your fire, or recycle it. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for tonight. Excuse me, sorry. I will be back on Tuesday. We'll hopefully finish carving these crabs, and we'll be into this last little rock down here, and then it will be onto his face. I will do my best to get a bit more clearing and stuff done in here and up here now, so we can actually see a bit of progress. It looks a bit of a mess when it's all zoomed in and it's just all this sort of weird carved area and stuff, but I'll do my best to get that done over the weekend. I should have the avatar blocks and stuff finished by then as well, so I'll have a bit more free time on that. But thank you everyone for sticking with me, and for all the interesting questions. That's good. I really enjoy being able to sort of have these conversations and stuff, because it's not all just about watching me carve and me just sat here carving a picture. What really interests me is being able to talk to you guys and sort of have these discussions as I'm working, and I don't mind just sort of popping off for 5 minutes and showing you something or explaining stuff, because at the end of the day this work's going to get done regardless, so it doesn't matter if I take 5 minutes away to explain something. But thank you again, guys. Stay safe. Everyone have a great weekend, and I will see you all same time again next Tuesday. Take care, everyone. Thank you.